and we're here today to talk about your arrangement, which you made for our first ever arranging competition. We're delighted you entered, and the judges had some great comments for us about it. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how you wrote it, how you came up with it, what your inspiration was, and so on.
Yeah, I was, I kind of happened upon the contest and I was intrigued by it. And I thought, oh, what the heck, let me enter. So the title that the song you gave us was Waters of Tyre, I believe.
Tyne.
Tyne, sorry. Anyway, I'm a visual composer. I write for film and do media composing. And so I kind of, closed my eyes and just kind of imagined a scene, really. And the scene was water. Imagine that. So I chose to take a watercolor approach. I wanted to make it very transparent. I wanted the chords to be kind of crystalline, open. So it wasn't super romantic, but it painted a picture. And that's really how I approached it. I actually just kept the melody the same pretty much, but what I did underneath it was kind of what hopefully tweaked your ear a little bit. And so that was my approach, was take a watercolor approach.
Absolutely. I mean, when I first listened to it, it's those F sharps. It's having that diatonic E minor chord when it shouldn't be there. You've moved the whole shape up rather than staying in the root key. I think that's the sort of thing.
Yeah, I like little surprises.
Yeah.
If you take a melody like that, even if people don't know it, in a very short time, they know it. And so what I do with it is I go, you think it's going here, and I go there. And those little surprises, hopefully, are kind of catch your ear and go, ooh, that was refreshing.
Yeah. The judges praised specific parts. In particular, Like a Whisper was picked up by, I think, 2 of them. Where did that come from? Do you often use little bits of...
Well, I have to say that little lick at the end, the little Like a Whisper, yeah, I'm kind of that. You'll find if you listen to my music at all, you'll hear that. But I just felt like that. I wanted the song to kind of just be just light and airy, and so that little whisper, or like little butterfly wings or something. I mean, it just was a little thing, and it's the last thing you hear. So it's like, ooh, that felt good. I don't know. I mean, who knows why you put stuff in music? Sometimes it's just your gut instinct.
I mean, that's what makes it art, I suppose.
Yeah, some composers compose things, and I listened to some of the other entries, which were really intriguing and fun. And sometimes you can tell that somebody had kind of not a mathematical formula, but they say, I'm going to take this melody and I'm going to put it over the top of this, or I'm going to do two keys at the same time. One of them was like that. I tend to just kind of go with a visceral, emotional reaction and see where the song takes me.
Great. You mentioned in an email, and forgive me if you want to move on from this question, but you said you were having some client aggro at the time and just wanted to do something for fun.
No, that is actually true. I do write music for people, and sometimes those people are, in my opinion, they don't know anything about music, but they know what they want. And so you're kind of tweaking stupid things, and I just thought, oh my goodness! But I wanted to create, and I had to listen to an interview that you did with an American group out of New York, I think, and I was kind of intrigued. So I found out about the thing, and I thought, I got some time because I don't want to do this project. So I just kind of escaped into your tune. And it was really felt creatively fulfilling for me. It's like, oh, good, I can still write music.
Absolutely, it can be tough. Speaking as a fellow arranger, musician, trying to balance that wanting to create with wanting to do something else that isn't your day job for a minute. It can be tough.
Well, honestly, it felt good to compose where the only person I was trying to please was me. And I wasn't even thinking I'm going to win a competition. I just thought, I just want to do this. I want to just write this. And it flowed pretty quick for me. And, I will say that my piece, and especially as I compare it to others, it was fairly not simple. What's the word? It was kind of, it didn't go crazy. It just kind of put it on the page. I stayed with my devices that I used, little device. I don't know if you ever use that term, but you come up with a motif, which in your case was the melody. Then I do little devices, and then I choose a palette, and the palette that I chose was this color, and that I didn't deviate too far from that. In 2 minutes, you really don't want to write a symphony.
I mean, it's a miniature, but yeah, that writing for yourself has definitely, I mean, it's paid dividends here.
Well,
For
yes,
once.
thank you.
You mentioned earlier that you write for film and for other mediums. Do forgive me, I've done a little bit of digging. I've found that you've written for at least 2 Olympic ceremonies, Winter Olympics.
Yeah. Well, I actually am going to be working on the Salt Lake City Olympics in 2034.
Wow.
If I live that long. I've just been in the right place, the right time, I guess. You know how it is in music. When you're trying to write music for a living, you just say yes and figure out how to do it later. For the Salt Lake City Olympics in 2002, I was lucky enough to write the closing ceremonies.
Wow.
And it was unbelievable. I mean, the Olympics are the Olympics. And so I wrote this 10-minute piece where all the athletes march in. And I had the fortune to be able to conduct the piece as well. So I had an orchestra and a choir, and I'm conducting, and then I'm taking pictures over my shoulder of what I'm saying. And I thought, oh, that's goofy. I shouldn't do that. It's not very professional. Until I saw Beck, who was one of the other musicians. He was doing the same thing. So
I mean, it sounds like a real career highlight, and I would want a moment to remember that by.
Well, and of course you're from the UK, and in 1988, now I was a young child at the time. I was writing music for the ABC broadcast of the Olympics in Calgary, and I got to write music for Eddie the Eagle.
Oh wow!
I don't know if you know who that is, but one of your country's Winter Olympic heroes.
Yes, I mean my partner used to have a budgie called Eddie the Eagle.
Oh well,
real cultural cut through there.
Yeah, I met him and wrote a piece of music for him that was sounded like Sergeant Pepper meets, I don't know, Mr. Bean. That was the musical style. Anyway, we're getting far afield here.
Yeah, I'll just ask 1 or 2 more questions.
Sure.
So the next thing I've got written down is, do you have any guidance for emerging arrangers? Because we do have a lot of younger people in our audience. So do you have any advice? What sort of thing would you say to maybe yourself those 30 odd years ago when you were doing the Olympics in Calgary?
Well, I would say I didn't really start out as an arranger. I was a composer, and now I like to think of arranging as composing with a head start. And I mean, it's all the same thing. But sometimes people ask you to compose, and what they really want is a transcription with some strings. I was able to infuse my personality, or I have been able to infuse my personality into the arrangements that I do. Sometimes it's almost too much for the clients. They go, "Whoa, you really took this a different direction." But I think most people like it when you don't just paint over the top of the chords and with some strings. I mean, and that's pretty easy to do, but you actually maybe take that song, especially if it's a well-known song, Silent Night or something like that, and the audience knows what the melody is already, and you put those substitute chords or whatever. I mean, don't be afraid to do that. And if your client allows you to do that.
Totally.
And I've become known for that in my arrangements. I do a lot of arranging for violin now, solo violin and orchestra. And what I've been able to do with lots of interesting songs is it's really challenging and fun. And so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take that song and do an arrangement of it.
Absolutely. I mean, if everything's going correctly, you're being hired for you. You're being hired for what you can bring to a piece. So that's really great advice.
And I think especially if the piece is very well known, then people already know what it sounds like. So don't just paint it, but give them something. That's where these surprise chords that I like to do. Right when you get to that ending point where they think, oh, he's going to go to that chord, you go to that chord, and they go, ooh, that felt good.
Oh yeah.
You know.
All right, let's just do one last one, then I'll let you get off skiing. Very exciting.
I enjoy chatting. It's nice, especially with fellow musicians. We're a very solitudinal group.
Can be.
We very rarely get to see each other, so it's nice to talk shop.
So yeah, just one last question, and again, this is aims towards our more our younger or less experienced audience. Extra musically, you've given some great musical advice. Do you have any extra musical advice for someone who wants to sustain a career over many years, as you appear to have done?
Yeah, I would. Let's see. This is an interesting question. I would be careful when saying no. Don't say I'm only going to write this kind of music. I'm only going to do classical music and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. I'm only going to do film scores and I'm not doing anything else. I was lucky or stupid enough to have said yes to many projects that when I said yes, I had no idea how I was going to do it. And I remember the very first project I did, I was in high school and I was working and I was a trumpet player and I got called by a guy saying, hey, I heard you play trumpet, but you also compose. Would you be willing to arrange something for this little television show? I had never done that. I'd never written music down except just chicken scratches. This was before computer, before Finale. Well, may it rest in peace, but before Finale. And I said, yeah, sure. All right, we need it tomorrow. Needs to be for a big band. Never written for a big band. Although I was a trumpet player. I said, yes, I'll do it. I stayed up in the fetal position most of the night, sat down, started writing. I didn't know what I was doing. Hopefully the transmission worked, but I said yes. It turned out great, actually. I was really surprised. The client was happy. I got another gig out of it. Had I said, no, I don't have any experience, or no, I don't do that style of music, I would have missed that opportunity. So fear is a welcome thing. Don't be afraid to be afraid, because by overcoming that, you're gonna step up. Can I make one last advice?
Of course.
Obviously, you've identified that I am a little more advanced in my age, but never stop learning. Don't think you know everything, that you've arrived someplace. I look at John Williams, 92 years old, still composing, Raiders of the Lost Ark a couple of years ago. Always look up and say, there's somebody better than me, and learn. I mean, I'm trying to learn a new program to replace Finale. And it scares me, but I'm going to do it. And I could retire. Well, actually I can't, but I need the money. But I never stop learning, Sam. That's my advice is, be inquisitive, be curious, and just keep saying yes.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much, Kurt. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your expertise, and particularly thank you for entering our competition. Congratulations.
Well, and thank you. Thank you very much. I'm actually honored, especially listening to some of the other compositions. For me, how do you choose a best composition? You don't really. But I appreciate being up there.
Another day, it might have been someone else, but today it was you.
Well, and I'm grateful.